Orlando, Felix, thank you for joining me in this sun trap, London.
Thank you for having us in this sun trap in London.
You're drinking a cup of tea and wearing a black jacket, so you're a braver man than I am.
Yeah, it's hard to kick a habit out of yourself, isn't it?
Yeah.
For the sake of a sun trap.
Yeah.
So I'm choosing to battle through.
Yeah, it's brave of you.
Thank you.
Well, I was just talking on the way here that something that's really cool about doing interviews like this is kind of walking the streets, and there's, who knows how many Maccabees fans are out there, and they're not entirely sure that you guys are behind these walls rehearsing for a string of amazing upcoming reunion shows. It's quite an exciting sort of peek behind the curtain feeling, isn't it? Do you feel that as a band, or is it just me being a fan who says that?
There's all the people out there?
It's exciting because the reaction to you guys coming back, a reunion, was pretty euphoric, and you guys are now getting to that point where you're rehearsing. That's quite an exciting time. Do you feel that?
I do. I mean, I feel excited about it. I haven't had the impression when I've been going to get a sandwich that anyone else is excited about it in this bit of New Cross, but
depends where you get your sandwiches.
Yeah. No one said anything in the massive Sainsbury's up the road, basically. But
you went to Turnstile the other day. People were saying they were up for it.
Yeah. There were some people at Turnstile that were excited about it.
I guess my general point is the fans are incredibly excited about this, and it's an exciting time, you being behind these walls rehearsing the shows that they're going to get really excited to see, right?
Yeah. Actually, going to that gig on Friday was the first time that I'd had that feeling of, because we've been sort of rehearsing all day, going to see a big gig, big light show, loads and loads of people. It felt very. It really brought it home to me, actually. Like, this is happening now. This is just around the corner, and I felt kind of a bit giddy with that. Really, it's very exciting. Yeah.
You're the same, Felix.
Yeah, it's weird because it hasn't we spoke about it a lot, but it's almost like isn't like it's dawning on me that it's going to be real now this week. So first show is Friday, and it's almost like it's dawning on me for the first time that it's actually that's actually going to be a real thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like your sort of body goes, it's like, what?
That year's gone quite quick, it feels like, since you guys announced it.
Yeah.
Just under a year, isn't it?
And it was so theoretical, and there was lots of people going, amazing, you're going to do it. But we hadn't actually done anything. Because we were just going to play some shows. So now just that feeling that it's going to kick it. I said the really cool thing that's about rehearsing was, and I boasted about this probably unnecessarily, but how in your dormant muscle memory, all the music kind of was. As soon as we started playing, I feel like, give or take the odd thing, we could just do it, almost like the band that we left. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was a question I actually had. Is it a muscle memory playing these songs? Because it's been 10 years since you played the last show, really, isn't it? And that's.
I feel like it probably was pretty much, obviously it's not going to be
perfect first time.
Yeah, we were 19, it was we played so far, so it's that kind of thing. But
I think it's been interesting how being able to rely on muscle memory and then it come back, and then to be able to, within quite a short amount of rehearsal time, to be able to be challenging the muscle memory as we don't just want to, we're not here to trot it out. The point is to challenge some of the things, readdress that song was always a bit clunky when we did it that way, so let's think about that.
We have been doing that.
So it's and that is, I think that is the benefit of muscle memory, is that it's given us a bit more time, because we got back to a level quick enough, that then we have felt like we have the luxury of being able to really challenge some of that stuff, rethink how we could sort of orchestrate it a little bit, and so that's nice. That's what we should be doing. If we're trying to make these the best things that they can be, we want to feel like we've turned over those stones.
Yeah. So can I take you back to, I believe it was 2020-ish by my research, where the kernel of this idea of a reunion begun?
I'm actually is that too early?
No,
to give
do
in?
it.
I'm starting to feel this is getting ridiculous.
There's people got money on
by
this
the end
watching
of it.
this who
have,
someone's just won 50
I'm sticking with a T though.
Yeah. So that moment that you guys had the idea for this reunion, I believe a wedding was involved. Was that your brother's wedding?
So we've talked about this wedding a lot, haven't we? This wedding has got a lot of traction. We got
told us.
You know what we just got told us now is that if you go on, setlist.fm where it stores all the set lists, you've got the last Maccabees gig at Ali Pali, and then someone's uploaded the set list from the wedding.
Yeah.
Which has just got Pelican on it. But it is true that Hugo got married and he built a pub in Battersea. Excuse me. They had like the reception or whatever you want to call it in the pub, and we built a stage in the day. And the thing that he chose, what he wanted to do with his wedding, was to like get our friends to come and play. So we had a band. Lam was living in Lisbon. I hadn't seen Lam for a couple of years. So, but Adele came down. Florence, Jamie T, Jack Piniate, this sort of super group situation to about 150 friends in Battersea. And the thing that Hugo really wanted, and it is his wedding, so his rules, was for the Maccabees to like play together. So he sort of sheepishly asked Land. I'm not sure if Land would say yes. Land did say yes, turned up, played Pelican. Really good time, and weirdly what happened then is that like COVID hit almost a week later, so it was this like strange mirage of a night when it was like just really exciting, but there was no idea that like, oh, the Maccabees, this means the Maccabees are going to play. Yeah. It was just that thing of being on a stage even for a few minutes again, and seeing what it meant to our sort of close friends. Yeah. Was exciting.
I guess COVID as well maybe kind of gave you the chance to like ruminate a little bit on that experience.
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
way you may not have had otherwise, to sit and think about.
I think that's probably true.
Because was it a special experience playing that show at that wedding? And because obviously weddings were always special anyway.
Yeah, was it? I guess the fact that we were doing it for no other reason than just like for that moment.
Yeah.
You're not giving me the vibe that it was a particularly special moment for you at the moment.
No, do you know what I was thinking about? I was thinking slightly more about COVID, and that I do think that if you, like, that was such a peculiar time. Like, I was on tour, and as we were touring the country, I remember like texts or like road crew or people getting a call saying that's been cancelled now, and like, so as we were, 12, 15 dates in or whatever, the disintegration of the coming summer for people, because how the kind of stagger of that realization, and then COVID, and then coming out the other side of that, I do think it changed everyone a little bit, and I definitely think it gives you a bit of a sense of you really don't. There's every chance that you don't ever get to do this again, and there's every chance that if you don't take the opportunities, then you'll regret them, because being in a room for 23 hours of the day, waiting for your chance to go outside, and I had a very small baby. Like, it's not, it's just when you get offered things, maybe it's good not to just dismiss them out of hand. Yeah.
So when did that experience and in COVID that then turn into, okay guys, let's do this?
We like, long story short, we were getting, I guess because it was sort of just, it's almost like a feeling in the air, and there's been enough time, and people just started sending some offers.
Yeah.
Randomly, and so even, and we just started like, there was like this moment of like, we're definitely not going to do that, but then the wedding, and then like Lan said, COVID was a bit like, it just felt like we were getting closer, but for reasons not to do with the band or that obligation you made as a teenager for the thing, and like all the heaviness that comes with that, and where we got to. So those things together, and All Point Cease getting in touch, and then feeling like, like that would be, because All Point Cease was always the one that I'd felt where it like almost stung a bit sharper when I'd gone to see Nick Cave or LCD or whoever it is, Overloads at the Strokes. In that chunk of time that the Maccabees been away, you'd almost be there and you'd be like playing in your head like, oh my God, would we been top of this bill, second top of this bill? And then you kind of have that, it punctuates it punctuated for me the loss of it a little bit more for some reason, particularly there. So the idea that they were like, you could put your own festival together, Maccabees at the top of the bill, and that we were speaking again, and it like was feeling much lighter, and it's kind of like, who wouldn't do that?
Well, because I guess that All Points East gave you the opportunity to make it feel right, because there is what you alluded to there is a danger with reunions, is that you don't do it for the right reasons, I guess. And All Points East and the way you felt about All Points East kind of said to you that, okay, this is the right thing to do, right?
Yeah, I think that kind of sums it up pretty well.
And as well, like all the advice that we had from old friends that had been to do with the band, people that had sort of, like our agent that's remained our agent, that kind of, our old manager that I still speak to and ask for advice from, like everyone said the same thing, that if you're going to do this, it has to be, you've got to enjoy it. Otherwise, everyone will smell it, and what would be the point? And I think what All Points East gave us was an infrastructure and a kind of, it took a lot of the heavy lifting out, like beyond just playing as good a gig as we can play. It took a lot of that heavy lifting away from us because it exists. People understand what All Points East is. So yeah, it just meant that we could concentrate on trying to make the gig as good as possible and enjoy it as much as possible. And I think that will hopefully, because that's how it's felt, I hope that will come across. I think that will be palpable.
And it was somewhat of an opportunity for you to curate it, I guess you're alluding to as well, which is a big part of it, right?
Yeah. Just being able to play like your own festival.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, who doesn't want to do that?
Yeah.
And so, the build that we put together I really do think, like, if you are invested in a Maccabees story or you like our band, there's just no way that you work. You know what I mean? Everything is sort of like right in that music that we love, but you're going to love everything. So I think it's going to be a bit of a manic day, actually, because there are going to be about 40 things that everyone wants to see. Bands that we consider great, but we sort of came up with everything, Bombay, Cribs, then all the acts that we've while separated in this period of time, have fallen in love with independently, but all into as well, like Nilofer Divorce, give me some other names. Katie J. Pearson, The Murder Capital,
Dry Cleaning,
Hamish Hort. It will go on forever and ever. Probably missed really important names out of that, but yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's just like... So
it's going to be a celebratory day, all in all, and it's going to be capped off by an amazing show for you guys as well.
I think so. Yeah. I hope so.
But then the sort of lineup you've put together there and the bill you put together alludes to a question that I want to have, which is obviously you guys getting back together scratches an itch for so many music fans of a certain generation, but there's also 10 years since you've last played, and there's a whole new generation of fans coming through. Is there like a level of excitement to maybe have that feeling of playing to all these guys who've never seen you before and maybe discovered your music now?
Yeah, I haven't even really thought about that.
Because the nature of All Points East is you're putting that build together, people might be coming to see Katie J. Pearson or Dry Cleaning, and then
that's true.
Fall in love with you, people they know have also.
Yeah, it's a nice idea. I literally haven't even. Have you thought about that?
I haven't thought about that.
No.
Because it's like that's sort of not in our control, I think. So I don't like the things that I'm really conscious of are the things that we can, how ready we can be, the kind of place my mind is going to be. They're all the things that I'm trying to concentrate on. I'm going to look forward to trying to get to as many of those, see those bands playing and those artists playing on the day, and then give myself a good bit of time. I think my son's going to come with, my family's going to be there, all of that stuff is, so that's my focus.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's exciting. I think I'm alluding to the fact it's exciting for a whole new host of fans who might just have gotten into you at a later age or just turning teenagers or whatever.
Yeah.
But the decision, not to sort of dwell on it too long, because it sounds very much like the decision was made with the right intentions and everything feels lighter, but was there a part of you this is going to be so great for the fans who've missed us for 10 years? You couldn't wait to share that news with them?
Yeah, it's so weird because I feel like it was more, I don't sound selfish about it, but it was more just it had to be right for us because we have to want to do it. We had to want to do it between the five of us, almost like playing in a rehearsal room. You had to feel the thing, because when you're in a band, you have to localise the experience a little bit because it varies so much from playing to 6 people to 60,000, and you can have depending on what mood you're in or things that are completely like oblivious to you, you have to sort of like stay in your little thing. So it wouldn't have really mattered, the idea that lots of people want to see it, if it didn't feel right between all of us. Yeah. And because that feeling's like correct or whatever it is, hopefully that will kind of permeate in the situation. Do you know what I mean? But no one got together and thought we need to do this for the people. I don't remember anyone saying that really between us. If that sounds terrible, I don't know.
No, I think the question was born from like the reaction was just so euphoric when you guys announced it that I was hoping that it kind of confirmed any sort of doubts you had about your own reputation and legacy, maybe.
Oh, definitely that. Yeah. Like
that's a good
You put your faith a little bit in the people that are like the promoters that are taking the punt on you, and yeah, the reaction has been what's the right word?
Overwhelming.
Not
unprecedented.
It has been heartening isn't enough. Bolstering sounds a bit wrong. Reassuring isn't quite right. But I
feel like heartening.
Yeah, maybe it's right. A bit kind of like
you could put
embroidered,
like
isn't it?
Incredibly heartening.
Incredibly heartening.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah, okay.
That can be the quote.
Yeah, that won't fit on a cushion. Yeah.
Incredibly heartening.
Far out.
And nice is too nice. Like it's just been we got somewhere with incredibly heartening.
And there, obviously, All Points East was the big one, right? That was the one that kind of like kicked it off. But then, as we talk now, it's 2 weeks until Glastonbury, which that's a mega show. Sunday night at the park, like
man. Yeah.
Just tell me how you feel about that show. I don't have too many clever questions about that one because that is just an incredible show.
No, I feel a bit like I've actually been to Glastonbury. You played it a couple of times. I haven't been to Glastonbury since we did it 10 years ago.
Not even as a punter.
Nope, not even been once. So to be back 10 years. So weird, because I remember years ago seeing Roots Manoeuvre there. I think he was doing Park Stage, but he was saying down the mic, "It's been 10 years." And I remember thinking, like, God, how long a period of time 10 years is. But when you get older, time shortens, doesn't it? So it actually feels like it's just racing too quickly. But I can't even really think about Park Stage. I feel a bit. We're doing this gig for MS Society South Park Dome. I just feel like I want to get to that and play it. Glastonbury's hopefully going to be magic. Hope so.
You excited for this Friday at the Dome? That's like, is there a bit of nerves, excitement, or a healthy mix of both?
Yes.
Do you feel nervous?
I don't actually feel nervous. I feel like I felt the same sort of mixture of really intrigued. I don't know how it's going to feel.
Incredibly heartened.
That's a recurring.
I will be in the stage.
Excited. This is incredibly heartening.
I think because it's the first gig on Friday, in a way, I can't see beyond that. I think probably that's what you're sort of saying too.
I just feel like
that's the thing. do that, and then it will answer a lot of questions and free up a lot of space in here to like in our to what the rest of it's going to feel like and how we're going to.
Do you know what it is? Sorry to interrupt.
No.
It's like when I think of the Maccabees, I felt what you feel about it. And when the thing with the when I think about the Maccabees, I do sometimes it does feel like it wasn't me that did it.
Right.
Does feel like another person because so much has happened in that 10 years between the Glastonbury or whatever it is, like so much life away from each other. So just that first show of like making it real now. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like it's hard to sort of comment on it until that's the thing because it feels like I'm telling a story about another, do you know what I mean? Another person.
100%, yeah. But is that informed by listening to, like, it might feel like an egotistical thing to say, but is that informed by listening to the Maccabees in the 10 years in which you played?
Listening to the band?
Yeah, if you do.
I didn't listen to the Maccabees. Only thing I didn't listen to the Maccabees at all until we were talking about should we do this, and then like late night on buses and stuff. I was I was living in a bit of fear that like someone's going to say, what are you listening to? I'd be like,
On those
oh,
Instagram reels, yeah.
And when I was listening to those records, I was thinking like, oh man, listening for the first time and not thinking about all the little battles that made that song become into existence, and you know, all your things you wanted to happen that got lost in that song, or all the stuff that happens in it, and just being able to hear it as music. It was weird, because it was almost like that much time needed to happen in order to listen to you for your own band and just hear it as other people hear it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
100%.
So,
I mean, you also wrote a book that in no small part is about being you in the band.
Yeah.
So that might have contributed to your feeling of like that it wasn't really you in it.
Yes. Oh, I like sort of pack that up. Yeah, I think that probably has contributed to that.
Yeah.
Like you sort of turn it into a story. But the nice thing was listening to the music and being like, I actually love this music.
Yeah. Were there any songs in particular?
So this has been so self-absorbed, not doing it for the people. I love the music.
Listening to your own band on the night bus.
Yeah. Like, can I take some of these quotes back?
Were there any songs in particular though that you heard and that really, really struck a chord, other than some others?
Well, there's a few things, like this is not, while I was listening to it, I sort of only listened to the Given to Wild and Mark to Prove It, because they're a bit more like, we'd really got a sense of what music we like, what we wanted to be at that point, and I think in terms of sonically and all that stuff, I think those records really hold up. Whereas the first two, I think the songs are great and the ideas, you can just hear how young we are and working it out. But the cool thing I think about Lan as a lyric writer when he was younger, and it always has been, but sometimes I can get a sense when Lan's singing the songs, like I said this the other day, it's like he wrote the songs then, but he wasn't sort of ready to sing them until he was quite a lot older. So hearing Lan sing them now, it was like they were sort of set up to be performed later in, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a really interesting take.
To be articulated now.
Yeah, the ideas are brimming in there. And
yeah, so that's kind of quite cool, but they've sort of, it's had to have its like, get through its awkwardness and its shape shifting in order to like reach now and be like have an overview of it and sing it without the immediate diarising. I've said a lot of stuff. How do you
feel about that, Orlando? That idea?
How do I feel about that? I think I feel like I trust Fee in most things, so I think it's probably there's a good point there. But I listen to the early songs and feel like when I've been listening them to get ready for the rehearsals and stuff, I can still just hear clumsiness or missed opportunity there, or how like everything is how I would do it differently now. I can't really. I feel slightly less like that with the two later ones.
Yeah.
I think that I had I'd settled a bit more. I was less insecure on so many levels, less insecure about my voice, more kind of comfortable in. I had found a way of singing that I felt was a much truer, closer to my kind of everything. Like, I think some of the storiedness in the early records, some of those songs I really like that, and I would never now think to do that. So I kind of like that they're captured, because I don't think I would approach a song in the same way. So that's kind of interesting, but I don't know about feeling like I've grown into a way of singing them with greater sort of heft or something. Like,
do you know what I've been like, not to do with you specifically, but when I listen to the early, you think about the early music, you know, when you're like getting older and you think of yourself when you were 19 and you almost embarrass yourself because you can see the person you wanted other people to see you as, and you're like performing as it.
Yeah.
Like I could feel that a bit about like, you know what I mean? Like, a bit, it's sort of really like set in stone. There's a bit of a like,
that is accurate
like
analysis.
That. So you know,
So
and you look at photos when you're 18 and you're wearing clothes that look like X, and you're thinking, oh, that's really wasn't. Or I was really like, the affectation of it is clear, And I think that's kind
I
of
think
like
we're getting down to the nitty gritty of
This
what
has been-
Fee actually thinks.
But then I feel like that-
which is that my insecurities are
No,
laid
but I think
way
all of
barer.
us.
Like,
I think all of us. I mean, all of us.
yeah.
But the actual
that is
music.
true. I think that's absolutely true. I agree.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. There's two things. There's one that's like, I think that's just pretty natural when you start out as an artist, you like are informed by people you're influenced by.
Yeah.
But then secondly, when I come back to this point about, not to bring it up, but the whole thing being heartening for your fans.
Incredibly
heartening.
Yeah.
incredibly heartening.
Is that this feeling now where you're self-assured, this self-assurance that's being reaffirmed by the reaction, and it kind of would hopefully help inform you when you play it now. It's all people want to see is just you guys on stage being yourselves playing,
Yeah.
right? That's kind of what this whole thing is
Yeah.
potentially said.
Yeah, I think that exactly.
That's the hope. Yeah.
I think when the last Maccabees shows happened, there was a real sense of because we'd been a certain age, people had grown up with us. Real sense of exercising a goodbye to a certain part of your life. So it's almost like the Maccabees for us and the people that grew up with it. It's like those extremely formative years of mid-teens to mid-30s, and like that is a clear like sort of, and it's a big chunk of time, but you become a proper adult after that. So it's almost like returning to it as adults is kind of like there's just something really lovely about it.
Sure.
I don't know, in some way.
And
It's incredibly heartening is what I'm saying.
and those individual sort of projects that you explored in between that, undoubtedly they informed a sense of sort of creative curiosity that you maybe weren't getting in the band at that point, and you can now look back at it as you come down for part two, how important those individual projects were for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of stepping back into a rehearsal room, definitely having there is because of the nature of the way I was touring as the Orlando Weeks project, I would tour in kind of chunks and then lose the band that I'd put together for that, or for Gritterman or for whatever, because everyone had to go on and do other things, and then I would have to rebuild a band, and I have to rebuild a band the next time, all of which meant that I got to work with all sorts of brilliant, talented people, but it also taught me a lot about to be in a rehearsal room, to build a successful period of rehearsal. I'd only ever been in a rehearsal room with Maccabees, so that's a huge amount of learning. And so I feel like that has been a big positive. Like I've enjoyed it more. I'm more accustomed. I was saying in another interview that like when the only gigs you've ever done have been with Maccabees or with your band, and then you go and do a bunch of other gigs, and in those other gigs you have triumphs and failures, it makes you realise that it isn't that Maccabees could have a good gig or a bad gig. It's that everyone, I know that seems sort of like I should know that, but to have it in practice, to experience that, what a success that was or what a failure that was, and there is no rhyme or reason for that often. Again, it just gives you a kind of perspective, and so you're a bit more. I hope that's another thing that will feel that will kind of tell in these shows is like one of them is going to be a bit of a clanger, and
Which one?
This is the thing, right?
Which one?
But also that's how you felt about it. It's not how everyone felt about it.
Yeah, that's true.
And and fingers crossed, the best gig is the best gig.
Yeah.
For the most people that have, or that they're all great or whatever. It's just I am. One is more conditioned to. In the end, there's not a lot you can do to determine how great or not great a gig is.
Sure.
Like so. Yeah,
And
that was lots of words as well.
Well, you
Sorry.
kind
It was quite-
we were
Sorry.
dialing in about the vocals earlier. Your vocals in particular, you sort of listen back and notice certain things. Did your Orlando Weeks project stuff maybe inform how you felt about your vocals in terms of your analysis of what you just said earlier?
Good question.
No, I really think that by Given to the Wild, I had managed to shake off a lot of the affectations that had been there to kind of, that were to do with the insecurities of not really knowing how to do it and not having been in other bands and not, like being the singer by, like no one else wanted to do it, like, but by then, so I think by the time I was doing solo records, I was more just trying to improve on the kind of version of my singing style that I have become comfortable with. Yeah.
And combined with what you were saying, Felix, about listening to the Maccabees back and kind of understanding where you really loved some of the songs, where do you think the Maccabees are most comfortable sonically?
Good question. What, as in which era of the Maccabees, or what do you mean?
Well, potentially, I'm kind of thinking in terms of when you go back into rehearsal space, where do you feel most comfortable playing together? And
as in literally, as in what place?
Sorry, no. Sonically, where do you feel most comfortable as a band?
Oh, good question.
So I guess the era would be a way of sort of crystallising it.
Oh my
But
God.
I don't want to hem you into that.
Can I think I can begin this and
Go for it,
you'll tidy it up for me. So we've been reassessing how to make a song called Spit It Out work, which was on
Mark's Prove
It. And I think that is a good example where there is trying to find the sort of sonic balance of that song, which I feel like all of us remember never quite getting right when we would play it 8 years ago or whatever. And maybe this isn't the answer, but I'm trying to think that the reassessment of how to balance guitars, not guitars, ambient sound versus cleaner, like tougher, grittier guitar sound, how dynamic Sam's drums need to be to make all of those, to sort of slightly mask the lack of change. Not that that's a bad thing, but just to kind of give more, sculpt that a bit more. Like all of that, I think, is what kind of where Maccabees got to, that wasn't just hell for leather, but is still loud guitar music and has a kind of a mind and a kind of a reminding element of like wanting chorus to feel like chorus, or wanting there to be, and wanting dynamics to play a big part of it. Like, so maybe that doesn't really answer the question.
It does, I think.
Does it? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
no, I do think it does. I think you're kind of like describing what the balance of your band is when it's at its absolute best. Right?
That's kind of what I was doing perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, 'cause I'm curious to know. I don't want to. I'm sure you guys are taking it one step at a time, but will many of those experiences you might have this summer maybe inform the idea of recording again?
I don't know. I mean, I actually don't know.
Yeah.
Like the whole point of doing this was to, for the first time, do it because it would be really like just a really good time, and no one has to be obligated to something we decided as teenagers that you're doing it because it's a version of yourself that you're like not doing all that stuff. We're just going to see here now without thinking like, oh, this record or whatever is like an overview of the Maccabees, and just try and do what we used to do, have those really sort of emotive, high energy, high dynamic guitar band type shows, and just see if that feels good and right. And even as I'm saying that, it feels like, oh, that will be good. But like when, if it has the goosebump thing to it and it feels magical, then let's see how we feel about it. But I like the idea of looking back on the whole thing without like alluding to like, oh, this is where we're heading.
Sure.
You know what I mean? There's just like a nice,
it's natural.
There's a nice moment to that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm acutely aware of how most of my questions have been funneled into the heartening lane, incredibly heartening lane. So this last question may be a bit of a stretch, but it's something I picked up as a journalist, and I'm just curious to know if you have any thoughts on it, because the last line in the final Maccabees song from your last album, you may be aware of this, is, and break it up to make it better, it's not for us to say.
Oh, nice.
Is it for you to say now that you're...
It was really nice as well, the shades come in as you said it as well. It was really like everything was closing. That was really cinematic.
Don't dodge the question, Felix. It's a tough question.
I don't know. It's your lyric. I don't.
That felt very apt because it felt like the bookend of a chapter for you guys, and you were clearly not sure whether not if that was, you know, the right thing for you guys, and coming back together is breaking it up, making it better.
Oh yeah, good question.
I mean, I would definitely
That would
say
be
it was the
great.
right thing to do. As like uncomfortable and as destabilizing for a while as it was, I think, and I can only speak for me, like it was the right thing to have done.
Sure.
Yeah.
And in terms of like feeling, how are you feeling now?
And now
yeah.
I feel like it feels incredibly uncomplicated at the moment. I keep being surprised at how not easy, but how uncomplicated. I think it feels. It feels like a very nice thing to be doing. Very incredibly hard thing to be doing. But yeah, just yeah.
I can't believe how many times I said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I think probably for the boys as well would probably say a similar thing. Like, that period of time has been an opportunity to, you know, everyone's become different people. That isn't just like, you know, in my case, the guitar player in the Maccabees. And there was a period in time where I was very certain and like almost gripping it so tight that my hands were like raw. That, you know, that was what I was going to be. That's what my life was. And when you come outside of that, you saw it suddenly, like, it's weird. It suddenly looks like very two-dimensional existence, and you realise you're millions of things. That could be one of the things that you are. But do you know what I mean? That's kind of what growing up is. So to be able to come back into the band and be that, like, have that like safety of like, oh yeah, I remember when I could so clearly say, you know, the guitar player in the Maccabees, but have that kind of like exterior with it. It's kind of exciting to feel like we could operate in that. With that mindset. And I would just finally like to say that is incredibly heartening for me.
Well, I would actually like to say, just chatting to you now is I love to see how like natural and light this whole thing feels. I'm excited for you guys for the summer ahead. It's
Thanks,
gonna be
man.
a great summer ahead. I
Touch
appreciate
wood.
the time to chat.
Wood. We'll be all right.
And yeah, have a
Are you
great
coming to
summer.
Glastonbury?
I will be there at Glastonbury.
Oh.
Nice.
With a sign.
That's
I
incredibly.
would love
No,
it.
I will 100% be there at Glastonbury.
Okay,
Yeah, so
great.
looking forward to it.